Okay, today in our next video in the tutorial series, what we're going to be doing is programming layers into one of those little keyboards. So we're going to be using this one here. So I'm going to move away this one. And if you remember, this is a simple 4x4 platform. It's named that way because it's a platform to be able to test a bunch of different hardware pieces and to be able to test the firmware. So I'm going to put that back here so it's all lined up properly. And to be able to program it, I need a cable. So I'll be able to use that. So now let's go into this firmware for the configuration. So let's go here and flip over here. Now, if you'll remember, we are now in the BlueMicro BLE. We were in the where is it? We were in the firmware, in the keyboards, and we had created tutorials. And the platform is the keyboard we're going to be using. And then what we have is we're going to create a new key map for our tutorial on layers. So the first thing we need to do is create a new folder called layers. And then you can see it's parallel to here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need to copy two files into our layers because we need to have the header file. So we're going to copy that over. And then we're just going to be using an example that I have already set in my numpad here for the 4x4 backpack. So it'll be faster to just copy and paste from there for the layers. So I'm going to go paste, and now we've got our key map and this here. Now, what we also want to do, and what I'm going to go through is say what's the first layer, what's the base layer, and what's the first layer, and how do we actually set it all up. So, okay, so let's go into here. So at first, just like what we had previously, we are initializing a first base layer. Now, if you look carefully, the matrix is actually an array of arrays of that type that's called key, or that class called key. And then when we go into setting up the key maps for the other layers, it's a simple integer, or an array of integers, but we actually scan over the array and add it to our matrix array here, our keys, to be able to say in which layer it is and what method and such. So this function is actually quite critical when we're going to be setting up layers. But one key difference that I want to actually make sure that we minimize is you can see how this is formatted is actually quite different between the two. So we're going to change that so that it's actually formatted exactly the same way. And for us to be able to do that, we need to kind of bring in like a utility macro. And you can see the key difference is we take the macro and say key map to array, and then we just paste the macro in here into between brackets, because that's the only difference there is. And this we need to put that into our config file. We could actually in the config file or in the key map file. I'll make this macro available across everywhere. But so here's our macro here, and then we're going to go into our key map, and then what we want to do is essentially use the same formatting there. So we're going to have our key map. So here, and then the other macro is this one here. And then now what we can do is see we can have a single string just like we have for our other key maps here. One, and what I'll do is I'll make it look similar to the other ones. And then one more after that, and a little bit of cleanup. Then delete all of this, and then we'll just tabulate a few pieces. And okay, it's not the prettiest, but it's gonna do like this. And actually, we're gonna bring this one like this, so that it is another tab that I want to remove the space. Okay, so we've got, it looks pretty similar to what we had previously, with the exception that we've got two brackets, or two macros embedded, and then two closing parentheses. Now, and then we've got the layer 1 being passed. So what we need to do here is this essentially sets the first layer with no special method, no special activation methods. And then this sets, essentially just sets up a first layer just to store temporarily until we actually loop over each row and column and add specific activations. So what would be possible to do is, if we have a specific entry that we want to modify, that it's possible to do it by just like knowing the row and column. But with we have to remember with the key map, and the key map may actually changes where the row and the column may end up. So by going through the column and the scanning of the column and rows and the key map this way, we're always sure that we don't have to worry about which row and which columns get remapped to what numbers. So let's go it this way and save everything, and then we're going to be compile. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go build. So remember, we're into the BlueMicro, build Windows, and then build PS1. That's the command line to compile in Windows. We're going to have the keyboard tutorials. We're going to build all. So this is all key map configurations. And then we're going to only build for the platform, which is the hardware configuration. So I'm going to go compile. And it's all saved, so we should be fine. So we've got the base, and then the layers is the one that we were just working with. And it compiled all good, so that's good. So I'm going to close this. Now what we can do here is flash our little keyboard to the program here. So what I'm going to do here is kind of show you in the corner. So what I'm going to do is connect this to our keyboard. Okay, I've got the sound down so you didn't hear the bleep bleep. Now I don't remember what COM port we were looking at, so we're going to be looking for that. So one of the easy way is to just go into the Arduino IDE and just see it's at COM24 on this one. So I'm going to close that. So now we need to go flash. I need to find a flash command in my history. There you go, there's one. So it's COM24. So it is a flash command, the tutorials. It's not the base, it's the layers. And it's a 4x4 platform, and it's COM24. So we enter this. It's flashing the bootloader first. So it's always up to date. That one takes about 30 seconds or so. Then we've got it flashed. Now we're flashing the firmware. Or it should be coming. There it is. And that one's about 10 seconds or so. Okay, so now let's go and test it out. So let's make sure that we have it in here. So BlueMicro and other device, or Bluetooth and other devices. So we've got a 4x4 platform. It's already connected because we were using it into a previous tutorial. And now again, just like last time, let's go and reset this. And then we've got a layer, remember. So let's go and have a look. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then, so this is the same as last time. Now this one should not do anything because that's our switch for the layer. So now let's go here and then see if we're pressing other keys. Yes, we are. So insert, and then so we're actually pretty good. So we've got the arrows. Oops. Arrows, and then the middle is nothing. So let's go and have a look at the what we had configured. So we've got up, down, left, right. KCNO is no key, so essentially no key map, so it's a 0. Now when we actually have NOs, what actually happened when we add the activation, it completely adds nothing to the key map, so it doesn't add anything. So we could have it completely full of NOs except the one key that we want to add some special in that layer, and then it only actually, in the add activation method, it actually detects, oh, it's an NO, I'm not going to add anything. And then when we call that NO or that key, then it just going to ignore it. And then if we actually have a non-NO, then obviously it will add it in the key map. So this looks very much like what we had planned, and it works. So I guess this part of the tutorial is done. So what we've done today is we've actually created a 2-layer little keyboard with a key map. Now, if you remember, why we had to do a little bit different here than in here is because the variable type is different. This is an array of array, whereas here it's an array of integers. So it's actually very different. So that's why we can use the key map macro, but when we pass it to the array, we're going to convert it. So we've got two macros here. And then in the first one we didn't. And then we're going to be using this structure here for adding the press method into our layer 1. But then if we need to add other layers, we're going to do the same method here. Add a temporary variable in the setup key map, and then load it all up. And then we're going to be using a similar structure if we want to load a different configuration for the layer or for the current key map. So this is a structure we're going to be seeing a whole lot more in subsequent tutorials. Well, this is it for today. Well, see you next time. Thanks.